Today's video topic was requested and sponsored by Carlos Enriquez. Thank you, Carlos. If you'd like me to delve into a particular topic, you can do so over at my Patreon. Over the years gone by, the balance of power has shifted between the teams quite considerably. It doesn't seem that long ago that Ferrari were dominating seasons of the sport, but it's actually been 13 years since what I like to call the never-ending age of horror, now replaced more recently by strings of success for both Red Bull and then Mercedes. So the question is, what makes teams competitive? How do they rise and fall through the ranks? There are many reasons for teams to gain and lose success over the years. These reasons are intertwined and overlapped and complicated, but the main points of interest I'll be covering are: a team isn't a fixed, immortal entity. Its staff, income and philosophy are in constant flux. How much money have you got in your pocket? Are all parts of your team in a glorious synergy? Are periods of stability helping you reach your potential? Is the snowball effect exacerbating problems in competition? Does changing up the rules shake up the order? And in the end, does it all come down to luck? So let's dive in then. 1. Teams are not a fixed entity. There are a lot of moving parts in a team. You know the old joke about the guy who's had the same broom for 25 years, but it's had 7 new brushes and 4 new handles? F1 teams, as with all organisations, are just like this. F1 teams need good staff. Not just good drivers, but good engineers, team leaders, project managers and analysts. All of these people need to work harmoniously. If everyone is on the same page and understands each other and their place in the whole work stream, then F1 development will go even more swimmingly. Great leadership helps with this. Famously, Ferrari grew to great success by hiring a good core team of people and then working well together on the journey towards that famous period of success and domination in the early 2000s. But of course, people can't stay forever, and once people start moving on, the dynamic that once brought success starts to disintegrate. And if you can't find a way to keep that harmony strong by continuing to hire and place the right people correctly, things will start to falter. Look at Ferrari's decline and instability as key people started moving on in the late 2000s. So hire the right staff and continue to make an action plan for the future to keep yourself in the game as parts of your team are swapped out. Similarly, a team's core philosophy must adapt with the times. A philosophy out of sync with the changing world in which it exists will be unprepared to compete in it. Famously, we can look at Ferrari again. It went through quite a torrid time of failure before the Schumacher era, mainly due to its own arrogance and inflexibility. To question the ways of Ferrari was treasonous.
Have care that head shall never be higher than mine. When I shall sit, you shall sit. When I shall kneel, you shall kneel, etc., etc., etc.
Very well, Your Majesty.
Luca Di Montezemolo, before running Ferrari, complained to the company after he bought one of their cars and found it to be clunky and inferior. This is how Ferraris are supposed to be, he was told. Di Montezemolo would go on to lead the company and pull its head out of its own exhaust pipe. He and other leaders broke flexibility into the organisation and changed what it meant to be Ferrari, to great success. Let's talk money then. Contrary to 5th century Indian astronomy, money makes the world go round. Money allows you to hire top staff and drivers, run more comprehensive R&D, throw more resources or ideas at a problem. For example, you could turn up to testing with 4 new front-wing ideas instead of 2. The problem? How do you get more money? Why do some teams have more money than others? Well, again, this is a complicated question, and it starts with a very simple fact. Some people or teams are wealthier than others. Some teams just have more money to begin with. But beyond that, the best way to get more money is to be more competitive. Being the best attracts more sponsors. It increases your share prices and allows you to sell sponsor space on your car for even more money. Being more competitive also gives you a stronger share of the prize money. A team on the downswing will start losing sponsors and high-profile partners, which makes it harder to stay competitive. We'll get more onto this in a second. A team is also only as good as all its parts, and the parts work best if they're part of a team. And have I phrased that in an overly complicated way? Possibly. An F1 car is a complicated thing. It's got lots of different parts made by lots of different engineering disciplines, and they all have to fit and work together as harmoniously as the team members building it. Teams that can do this have an advantage. Let's take a look at Mercedes as they took to dominating the hybrid era starting in 2014. There's a very specific example of engineering synergy that got a lot of attention once their secrets had started to be uncovered. Their clever turbocharger. The technical details aren't important for this video, but basically, Mercedes found a way of improving the cooling efficiency of their turbo by splitting it in half across the main engine. This meant that the other parts of the engine could be smaller, the gearbox could be better placed, and the bodywork around the engine could be tighter. Seeing as Mercedes were building the engine, the chassis and the gearbox, all of the sub-teams working on those parts were aware of the innovative turbo design and could develop their own designs accordingly. Customer teams of Mercedes like Williams will have been designing the surrounding elements of their cars without knowing exactly the radical type of engine they were getting, and missed out on such advantages. And so it is with every part of the car. The more you can get in-house and as part of the same information sharing operation, the better you'll be. This gives works teams, that is teams that are owned or run by a manufacturer like Ferrari, Renault and Mercedes, a large but not insurmountable advantage. How can customer teams get on top of this? Maybe stability. A period of stability in the regulations, the environment, team, etc., can help a flagging constructor raise its mast again. So you didn't get your engine, gearbox and chassis working in harmony this year. Not a massive problem, the regulations are the same next year, so you can incorporate it into the next model. Missed the technical trick that your rivals figured out? You can add it on later. Having a reliable car is also a form of stability. Even if you're coming plumb last every race, you're gathering a hell of a lot more data from your track time than if you were breaking down on lap 3 every race. More data means a better roadmap for where to go next with your rubbish car. Every season that things stay the same is a chance to close the gap. Stability should breed convergence in performance. After all, within a certain set of fixed rules, cars should only be able to get so good. In theory, the teams at the top have less far to push to reach this near perfection, and over time, everyone should start closing up. In theory. Unfortunately, we've also got the snowball effect working against this. And as you know, a snowball gathers momentum and size as it rolls down a hill, and so it is with F1 teams. This is a big problem, one that the FIA and FOM regularly try to fix with not a small amount of resistance. See, as we've covered, to be competitive, you need good staff, good drivers, a lot of money, great technical partners, etc., etc., and the easiest way to get all of this? Be competitive. Everyone wants to work for the best team. Sponsors flock to winners so their logos can be in all the pictures and TV footage. Great drivers move to where they're most likely to win. Prize and TV money is distributed towards the winners as well. This leaves those who are less and less competitive with less and less to work with to get back to the top. These losers can easily fall into a death spiral, while the winners soak up all the wealth and talent. Winning fuels winning, while losing douses the flames. But even in the tumble and fall of a death spiral, a team can find itself back at the top thanks to the magic of a major rules change. Yes, because motorsport is based on technology and entertainment, it's more prone to having its regulations rewritten than any other type of sport. And a swift shake-up of the rules can turn the weak into the strong. Changing up the technical regs gives you a chance to innovate like never before. You're not stuck in a period of stability trying to inch your way closer and closer to the top. You can chuck out the old recipe and throw new, crazy ideas into the pot. You've suddenly got the elbow room in building a car from scratch. How do I best exploit this part of the rules? What's the best interpretation of this regulation? With a major change in the rules, there's an element of shooting into the dark. With stability, when designing and testing a new car in the factory, you can look at the teams around you and the years gone by and have a good idea of what you're aiming for. You'll know if you made a good step before everyone's hit the track together in testing. Between rule sets, you don't know how performative everyone is going to be and whether you'll be competitive. Have you worked out the best technical approach to these new rules, or has someone else been even more clever about it? You may have innovated like hell and ticked every box on your checklist, but you don't know if the other teams have done just that bit better. Red Bull Renault absolutely honed the 2009 to 2013 regulations to perfection, but became side characters in 2014 with the new engine rules. Sometimes you see it's just down to luck. Everyone in F1 is clever and skilled and works hard, but sometimes it's just a matter of the stars aligning for you and not them. Sometimes you absolutely nailed it in a way your competitors didn't. Look at Brawn GP, a brilliant, fairy tale showing of talent, innovation, spirit, tenacity, and really good luck. Everything came together for them, having been absolutely nowhere the year before. A plan was put in place. It nearly all fell apart, but that Brawn chassis with the last-minute Mercedes engine really showed everyone up. So how do you break the cycle? If you're in the midfield or lower end of the pack and maybe you have an orange car and you need to get back to the top, what do you do? Well, there are some options. You can give up on this year and make an early start on next year's car. A lot of middle to lower rung teams are able to do this once they're out of any major championship fights. This is one advantage they do have over the top teams, who have to keep pumping all their resources into the current year's fight, while other teams slowly start moving everything over to next year. This worked really well for Brawn, but worked terribly for BMW in 2008, when they could have been title contenders that year, but gave up way too early and focused on 2009 because they had a plan, and their plan was to focus on 2009. They weren't flexible enough to realise that 2008 was their time to shine. Poor Kubica. Option 2, poach. Steal staff from other teams if you've got more than cartoon mods in your wallet. Take their staff, but don't steal their info because the guy that runs the photocopy shop will rat you out. Spy. Take photos of everything in the paddock and on the track. Listen to other people's radio comms. Casually hang out at McDonald's in Brackley with an open ear. Here's a risky one. Come up with a brilliant plan and convince everyone to buy into it. That's how Ferrari and Mercedes' successful patches occurred. They had a big, medium-term plan and they convinced people to invest in them, and for brilliant people to work for them. See, it's simple really. All you have to do is come up with a great plan, have loads of money, hire the right people, be flexible when you need to be, become a works team, take advantage of a rule change, but also use stable periods to grow while having a healthy dollop of luck at every turning point. That's all you need to be competitive. F1 teams hire me. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. This was a bit of a broader topic than I have normally been doing, so I hope it was enjoyable and at least a little bit informative. Thanks again to Carlos for sponsoring the video through Patreon, and again, if you'd like to order your own bespoke video, then you can do it over on Patreon at a logo that will appear somewhere, maybe down there, who knows. Thank you again to my Patreons who have been sponsoring me and helping me be able to make these videos.